Hi, this is Misa here, founder of The Authentic Asian. I'm so excited to have this podcast that I'm starting with Kelly Mealy. Kelly, it's so awesome to have you here today. For those of you who may not know Kelly, she is a TV personality as well as serial entrepreneur. And I feel like when we first met, I felt like we had such a connection because we're in such a similar stage of our lives. Being working moms, being entrepreneurs, trying to do it all, but having so much trouble balancing it. So I felt such a connection with you when we last hung out. And it really, really made me want to reach out and have this episode together. So it's such an honor to have you here today.
No, I'm so happy to be here, and thanks for having me. And honestly, what you're building is so inspiring, and I think it's very beneficial to all of us.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know The Authentic Asian, it's an uplifting community of over 250 Asian American female leaders. The average age is 45, and we're all just trying to uplift and support each other in an authentic way and find our authentic selves. So, Kelly and I connected a couple months ago, and ever since then, Kelly, it's just been so great getting to know you more and to just learn from you as well. So, this episode would be really amazing. We're going to actually be talking about, can Asian women have it all? It's this question that I always get on panels and interviews. And I personally hate the question, but I also think it's something that we have to ask ourselves. And so the question I have for you, Kelly, is can we have it all?
That's a really hard question. The funny thing is, if you asked me this before I gave birth and before I became a mother, I was like, oh yeah, I can do it all. No problem. I'm really good at juggling. But I honestly didn't realize what juggling is until I became a mom. And it's a whole other thing. But can we have it all? I want to say the answer is yes. I don't know if it's like you can have it all at the same time or all the time, but eventually, yes, you can have it all. But it's every day I feel like a circus clown right now, and every day I feel like I literally every day I feel like I'm running after a moving train, and I just can't catch up. And it's been the last 2 years, it's been such a humbling experience for me, becoming a mom and also now just trying to get back to work and trying to find myself again. It's been really, really challenging.
So you said finding yourself. I want to dive a little bit more into that because at least when I became a mom, it's like my priorities changed. My daily life changed. How are you finding yourself again now that you're getting back into work but still balancing being a mom? I'd love to dive into that concept a little more.
I'm not really sure yet because, I spent my whole life just focusing on my career. The last, since I was 18, all the way till I was 37 or 38, and the whole time I was just focusing so much on my career, and all of a sudden everything shifted. And all you're focusing on is raising this kid. And, I think also there was a point in my life I was like, is my career over? Like, I literally thought about this.
Wait, you mean when you became a mom?
When I became a mom, I think during postpartum especially.
Newborn phase is so freaking hard.
It's
like a black hole.
People always said that it's really hard, but until you experience it yourself.
Oh my God, no one can warn you.
You're like,
you think you're Superwoman and then you give birth, you're like, this is freaking hard.
Yeah, exactly. There's a point that, I was like postpartum. Also, your hormones is crazy during postpartum.
Oh, yeah.
Is my life over? And I was like, is my career over? Is this it?
Well, because you don't leave the house.
You don't leave the house.
Yeah.
I did a postpartum confinement.
Are you happy that you did that? How do you feel about that?
I'm
good.
Really,
okay.
Really
so it was a
happy
really great experience for you.
It was a great experience for me just because I think in the American culture, there's no such thing as like postpartum care as much.
Oh, for sure.
And also not much, we don't really talk about our mental health as much during the period where, the Asian culture and also a lot of other cultures as well, 30 to 60 days, you kind of give your body to heal. Your body went through a lot giving birth. And I think people, I call them my coworkers, but they're on other shows on Netflix before. A week after they gave birth, they're out like doing events and like walking carpets. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know how you do it. Like, and I'm like.
I think there's this pressure. Like we set the bar so high as Asian American women to just like do it all and show that we can do it all.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that you took that time and gave yourself grace.
Yeah, yeah. I think we have to. We have to tell ourselves, especially first of all, we have to tell ourselves that it's okay to take it slow. It's okay to take a little break. It's okay to, because you can't pour from an empty glass. So you have to fill yourself up in order to give to others.
I think that actually took me a while as a mom. At first, I felt like I needed to put myself behind everyone, like behind my husband, behind my family, the kids, the business. But what I now realize is that if I put myself first sometimes, whether it's a spa appointment or going to the Korean spa or whatever it may be, then I can be a better mom, a better wife, a better, whole person holding the family.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I don't know if that's like the mindset that you were talking about.
I'm getting there.
You're still such a new mom. Like, I'm a
Yeah.
mom of 2, 6 and 3, but how old is your toddler now? Or is she a toddler yet, technically?
She is a toddler now. She's 17 months,
Oh, baby.
I
Not
can't
even 2 yet.
I can't imagine having
Dude, it's
two
so
right
freaking hard.
now.
You're about to have terrible twos. You have terrible twos coming up.
She's getting a little, attitude
Feisty.
lately. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. We're going to do it this way now, But, no, she's so sweet and so cute. But I can't think about a second one right now.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that before I gave birth, I was in such a different mindset. I was looking at daycares to drop my baby off when she was like a month old. I was like, I'm going to be superwoman and just like dive right back into it. But and everyone warns you, but once it actually happens to you, then you're like, wow, damn, this is hard. And every single woman has to go through this who gives birth.
Yeah.
And it's kind of shocking.
Absolutely. And then, sometimes I think about I'm really, really lucky. I have a lot of support around me. But, some of the single moms out there with no support that has to work a full-time job, I was like, superheroes. Like, that's real life superheroes.
Yeah, and we're also lucky because we have family. So my mother-in-law helps me tremendously through both births, and she moved in with us for a while. I know that your mom is pretty hands-on as well, so I'm so glad that you have that.
Yeah, there's no way, I can do what I do without a support system.
For sure. It's interesting because I would love to learn a little more about how, now that you are a mom, how you are finding a way to balance it. Whether, of course, every day it might not feel like balancing it, but it would be great to learn a little bit more about how you're still able to balance having your career with being a mom.
I think one of the things is perspective. For me, I think my perspective switched, and where some of the stuff, it doesn't really matter as much. And I'm like, is it really, your time becomes so much more valuable. So you tend to do things that's more purpose-driven. And then sometimes, you might not sweat the small stuff, if that makes sense. But, it's hard because with work, also another thing is like being Asian female, it's so hard in workplaces because everybody's trying to pull you down, if that makes sense, or there's always a glass ceiling, right?
The freaking glass ceiling.
And even if you break through it, people are still trying to pull you down.
Oh, for sure. And there's judgment there too.
Yeah. So, it's really hard that sense. And now that you got to be a mom and you got to, take care of that part of you as well. But I think it does give you a different perspective in what is important in life and what is worth fighting for and what is it gives you more of a purpose, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's interesting because I do feel like we walk a very thin balance beam of being judged as Asian women, and then adding that to being a mom on top of that, it's even more kind of judgment or having to balance that, I don't want to say persona, but that perspective. Right after I gave birth, not right after, but 7 months after, I decided to go to Harvard. And it was really interesting because I had on my Harvard binder, I had a picture of me and my baby girl. And all these men went up to me. They're like, oh my God, you're here. Who's watching the baby? And I'm like, my husband and my mother-in-law. Like, I'm not leaving my baby out on the street. And it's like, who's watching your baby?
But the funny thing is that if this, let's just switch the roles a little bit.
Yeah, let's switch it, right?
If a guy has that in his binder, do you think that many woman or guy will go up to him like,
no,
hey, who's watching your baby?
Of course not.
Right?
No.
I don't know.
And it shows how unusual it is because there were very, very few out of 250 classmates. There were maybe 1 or 2 other working moms. So it just kind of shows how rare it is, but also, when the roles are reversed, it's so different.
Yeah.
Definitely. Let's talk about mom guilt a little bit. Of course, we all have it. Or I'm curious if you do have it.
Oh.
It's
I'm guilty right now being here, okay?
Wait, what?
Like, no. Definitely, especially when, when I have to travel for work. And I'm sure you travel a lot for
Yes.
work, so I'm sure you have the same thing. It's just like, I feel so guilty, especially like overnight trips. If it's daytime, I'm a lot
overnight is so
easier.
hard.
Yeah.
Especially because you're such a new mom.
Yeah, overnight, especially. I remember last November, so she was barely one. I had to go to Asia for a trip. So I did 5 days, including flying to Hong Kong. I
Wow.
landed at 6 a.m. in Hong Kong, and 9 a.m. was my
With
first
jet
meeting.
lag.
I just was back to back, like even, and also in Asia, when you do business, it's dinners and all that stuff. It goes to late, but I just did, back to back. I think it was like 3 or 4 days, and I just flew right back. It was exhausting, but I felt so guilty being away, you know?
Yeah, it's so hard. For this episode, I just flew up only for the day, and luckily the guilt isn't there because I'm coming back in time to tuck my older daughter in because she really notices my absence. But, it is so hard when you have to give that up, but it's like in some ways you enjoy the freedom, but then it's hard to fully bask in it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
When you go away for the first time, I went on an international trip by myself when I shot Suwasu in Korea this last summer. First international trip in 7 years.
Wow.
It's
That's
without the
wow.
kids. So, luckily I didn't feel guilty because my mother-in-law was home.
Okay.
But it's like, it is so hard. You have to have like a whole village
Yeah.
in order to do that.
Yeah. And then for Authentic Asians, did you start after you have the kids, or did you just start it before?
Yeah, so the Authentic Asian actually only started a year ago. I feel like it's like an overnight success, 2 decades in the making. I've been an entrepreneur for 2 decades, but I really started it out of loneliness and just attending the Harvard Business School's Women of Color and Leadership program. And after attending that program and feeling so lonely, it was this beautiful safe space with women of color. And when I got home, I was like, we don't have our own house to go to, especially as Asian American women. And so I wanted to start something like that so badly. And I was so lucky because I started it right when my son turned 2 and he started sleeping through the night finally. And so it was kind of this perfect timing because I think any earlier than that, I would have just gotten burned out starting it. Because, doing a startup, it's so hard.
Yeah.
The
I'm in
first
middle
year
of
is
one right
so
now.
hard. Yeah, you know how it is. And even a year after launching, I was just in New York doing a happy hour last week, and I was like, this is so hard. I was away for 2 nights from the kids, and it was so hard being away from them. And I know that if I wasn't a mom, like this thing would be so much bigger, but I've kind of just accepted that, I'm doing the best I can. And I might not be as ambitious as I was before kids, and that's okay.
That is
and
totally okay, yeah.
fully accepting yourself that you can just be yourself. You're able to do what you have with the resources and time that you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
Give yourself grace and do the best you can. But I think it's incredible that you've built a community of women who can support each other. I think that's really hard.
Yes.
Even nowadays, with social media and with a lot internet, it's so much easier to connect. But I feel like people are more distant than ever, and there's more. What do you want to say? There's more noise. You know, in the sense that can tear us apart or not be able to I guess find people who really feel for you and can support you. So I think having a community that you've built and is building, hopefully, bigger and bigger in a sense, is so important. So yeah, I'm very inspired by that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I feel so lucky. It has been, a journey in finding just the right culture fit because I think it's hard to find women, especially Asian women, that just genuinely want to support each other and cultivating that culture and that they're in the right mindset that want to do that. So I feel really lucky that we found 250 Asian women so far in the community that really want to uplift each other.
That's so incredible you said that, because one of the things I want to point out is that when you say it's, sometimes it might be difficult with Asian women because I think in our culture, we're brought up to be very competitive.
Yes.
Not even if it's not like consciously, it's subconscious because I don't know. It's like the tiger mom thing. It's always like,
well, I'm competitive. I understand.
It's like my
in some
friend's
ways.
daughter is getting all A's. My friend's daughter
Oh
is a
God,
doctor.
the
My
mom
friend's
thing
daughter
brings
is,
a whole
you know,
other.
yeah. So I think subconsciously to kind of ingrain that into us that we have to be like better than our friends or be more competitive from our friends instead of like let's collaborate and support each other, right? And be happy when your friend is successful. Like I'm happy you got all A's. I'm happy you're a
Well,
doctor.
that's
I'm
what
happy
I
you're a
love
lawyer,
about you,
right?
though, because you're the type of friend that, like, we're cheering each other on. And that's so important to have that in your life, like a cheerleader on the sidelines being like, I'm so proud of you. You know,
Yeah.
I try to keep that in mind for every single one of my friends I see succeed. It's like, I want us to succeed together. I want us to support each other
Yeah.
succeeding together. But it's interesting you bring up that competitiveness because I am still very competitive. I grew up like the captain of my tennis team and playing singles, ranked in Southern California for tennis. So I do have that competitive kind of like tiger
Yeah,
streak.
yeah.
And there's this term that I learned from some of our members that's called crab mentality. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, so when you put a crab, and apparently it runs very strongly with Asian women just because of whether it's intergenerational trauma or just that we're competitive by nature often, and then there's so few positions at the top. Like sometimes if there's a really negative company culture, they're like, oh, there can only be one woman of color,
Yeah,
one
okay.
Asian woman at the top in leadership. And so when you put two crabs in a boiling pot of water together, the other one, like if one's crawling out, the other one
Oh,
like takes it down. And
okay.
yeah, so it's like you don't want to see the other one succeed. You rather you both fail together. And that's actually
Wow.
happened to me with an ex co-founder I had. And that was so hard to go through that and think like, you know, I'd rather see her succeed than like we had a company together.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd rather see her succeed than for the company to fail, but she would rather the company fail than have me succeed with the company or vice versa. So it's like,
Wow.
I don't know if you've ever experienced that before, but so curious.
You know, I've went through a lot of hardship with business. It's weird to say, actually, most of the partners I had haven't been female.
Oh, that's super interesting.
You know, one of my business partner, I've been partners for over 10 years.
Wow.
You know, we get along super well, but he's a guy, you know, he's a Cambodian Chinese, but super hardworking, respect him so much, but we've been through, you know, fire together kind of thing and support
I
each
love
other
that.
through that. I actually never really had a true female partner, which kind of sad. It's like, you know, I feel like this is kind of sad actually. Now that thinking
You're like,
back, I was
oh,
like,
this aha moment. Yeah.
you know, but I get what you're saying as far as in the corporate ladder, how there's very limited seats for Asian women on top, that a lot of them will want to fight for that and they'd rather drag the other person down than let them succeed, you know?
Yeah, it's so hard with that. I'm so glad that you have a co-founder that you feel like you can believe in and walk through fire. I identify with that because my husband was actually my co-founder for our startup for 10 years. And, you know, we went through so much together. I won't even go into it. But it's like when you walk through fire with someone, it just makes you so much closer. It makes you feel like you can go through anything after that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
To have that kind of
Yeah.
trust.
What are some of the challenges that you went through with building Authentic Asian?
You know, with Authentic Asian, the growth, it really looked like an overnight success. I call it the overnight success, 2 decades in the making. So right when I launched it, we got so much interest. I think I have such a big following from the Great Food Truck Race from many years ago that I just had immediate trust with my Asian American female audience that I had. And I already had a strong following on LinkedIn, which is the most trusted social media platform. So just within 100 days of launching, we got 100 members. And that's almost unheard of for a community that's kind of a slightly more expensive community to join. It's $17.99 annually. And so it was just, it was so amazing to see that support. But what I didn't realize is that not everyone's a perfect fit. I didn't really vet the members as they came in. And so in January, about 6 months after launching, I had to purge some of the members that were breaking the rules and that really weren't a good cultural fit. You know, they had scarcity mindset instead of abundance mindset. There was a lot of unprofessionalism going on. And they broke some of the community rules, and it was a really hard process. And it's one of those things where the only thing I could do was look in the mirror and, blame myself. I'm very hard on myself sometimes. And at being a single founder, it's also easier because it's like it's only my fault. But at the same time, I'm so used to making mistakes, especially in the first year. You're bound to make mistakes. It was a really hard lesson back in January. But after that, I think I've only let go of one other founding member. And then everyone else has been unbelievable. I just had a meeting with my board of advisors yesterday, several really successful entrepreneurs, the head of Harvard Business Publishing, one of the head of Edelman's. It's amazing to see the support from Asian American women in the community, and it gives me so much hope for the next generation, whether entrepreneur or executive, that these women exist and they care so deeply about helping other Asian American women, whether it's, the head of Harvard Business Publishing coaching women in middle management to help them break the ceiling, or a late stage entrepreneur, the most successful rock climbing gym owner in the United States, Asian American female rock climbing gym owner in the United States, who's teaching women to go from 7 figures to 8 figures in their business. Like, it gives me so much joy and hope that this many uplifting women exist.
That's incredible.
And that they want to give back, and that I just can provide that platform to do that.
That's incredible. I really wished earlier in my career I had more mentorship.
Yes,
because I just didn't have
too.
anybody mentoring me. One of the things you talked about, you mentioned a couple of times, and I think you touched base a little bit on, is culture. Can you talk about a little bit about what your core cultures are and what those?
Yeah. And when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. And so I just called it a community of powerful Asian American women, but I found that brought the wrong applicants. And so now we just call it Asian American women, helping them feel less alone and more connected and uplifting each other. So we look for abundance mindset instead of scarcity mindset, wanting to uplift each other instead of narcissism. And I even have an onboarding manager that specializes in detecting narcissism. So, and it's just women who really want to invest and grow. And so, that's what's inspiring. And I kind of almost know in the first 5-10 minutes of an interview if someone's a good fit or not. And usually just with the nature that we market ourselves, it brings in the right people. It's pretty rare for the wrong applicants to happen. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really great. I would say 3 years ago, I didn't know what really the word narcissistic personality is.
Oh, really?
I didn't even know that, even though I had actually somehow attracted a bunch of them in my life.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have, I remember you were saying that you had some people in your life like that.
I had a lot of people in my life like that.
Oh,
and
wow.
I think I for some reason, I don't know. I think maybe because I just never really looked into it. And until I started going to therapy and just really kind of peeling everything back to realize, wow, these people are very toxic in my life and they're narcissistic, and all I'm doing just feeding it to them and just helping them and just, they don't appreciate it. There's no.
Was this in your 20s? And did you just not have boundaries set? Because I even feel like I'm dealing with boundaries right now.
I was not good at boundary setting at all. I didn't even know what that was. I was a people pleaser. And I'm very honest with that, and I realize it now, that it's okay to say no. I had a really hard time saying no to people because I don't want people to let people down.
Is it easier for you now? Like for me now, I'm exactly like you. I feel like I'm talking to myself right now. I am such a people pleaser. I think, God, I just love giving back, and sometimes I give too much of myself, even now being a mom. So I'm curious if it's been easier for you to set boundaries now that you have more limited time. And then how do you do that? Because I would love to learn from you to set more boundaries and say no more.
I think one of the things, I think COVID actually really helped me a lot to slow down. Because when COVID first happened, we didn't really know what was going on. We didn't know how serious it was. Was this going to be like a week or 2 weeks or longer? So for me, I was like, I just felt relieved that, oh my God, I didn't need to go to this event. I need to say.
Yeah, there's no pressure.
There's no pressure. And then, I still catch myself. I think it was like a couple weeks ago, one of my friends invited me to something. I always try to, obviously, if I say I want to be somewhere, I'm going to try 100% to be there. But invited me something, and I remember feeling bad, and I started making excuses like, oh, I might have to do this. And I was like, wait. I'm just going to tell her, I was like, thank you for inviting me, but I'm exhausted. I just need a night to sleep. And that's okay, you know?
Yeah.
And they understand. They're like, it's okay, you know, like
And
have a
also
good
now
day,
that you're a
guys.
mom, you do have that excuse like to spend time with your kid, or that there's that priority that you have.
Yeah, and also when it comes to business, if something doesn't make sense to you, you know, voice it out, right? You know, but it's I think setting boundaries is something that it's a learning skill that you know, we talked about this at the beginning, is that you can't pour from an empty glass.
Yes.
So you have to make yourself full in order to give the best version of yourself to others around you, right? And I think you get better at picking people, you know, quality over quantity.
Yes, that's so true. And I think now with today's social media, it's so easy to not have as close relationships. So it's so important to have, you know, those core people on your bus around you, whether it's in business or in your personal life.
Absolutely. And another thing that really helped me is that I can only control what I can control.
Yeah.
And then rest of it I kind of just had to let go, right? Because you can do everything right. Let's say for a business, you can do everything right, and then you can make all the right decisions, but something could happen that's completely out of your control.
Yeah.
And what can you do? You can just kind of like let it go and do the best you can that's within your power to get it back.
Yeah.
Right?
How do you kind of recharge as a mom right now? Like
Sleep. Sleep. Like we're all low on sleep. I have a
Wait, does she sleep through the night right now or no?
She wakes up for one feeding through the
that's
night,
not that
but
bad.
My mom, you know, very fortunately, well, there's actually unfortunate and fortunate part. She wants my mom at night. You know, I think she just got really attached to grandma,
amazing.
and so even if like she doesn't really want me at nighttime, she wants me during daytime to
That's
play
like
with
my
her.
son. We've made it so that he's more attached to my husband. You know,
You're like, sorry,
don't
he
feel too
just wants
guilty.
you. Yeah,
It's just the way it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully she can slowly get rid of that one feeding.
Yeah. Recently, I've discovered, I don't know if it's with age or not, but I used to be more of an extrovert, but now it's turning out I'm more of an introvert.
I'm a total
And so,
introvert.
really, that is surprising.
I am a total introvert. I'm a homebody. I'm an introvert.
Oh, I love that.
But it's like, I think because people see you out all the time, going to events or doing things.
Yes.
But, you know, one of the things I really slowed down the last couple of years because it got to a point that I really wasn't enjoying these events, these galas, and I wasn't really connecting with people. I was just
It's
kind of
so many people at once, right?
Yeah,
You aren't
and
even genuinely connecting with one
exactly.
person.
And I was just kind of there to like, you know, for work reasons, you say hi, you say bye, and I just want to get out of there. You know, I want to take off my makeup. I want to get off this dress. I want to be in my pajamas. And I realized that I wasn't enjoying my time there. And I remember last like event I went to, I actually like just like slowed down, and I actually like was able to catch up with friends and just like how's everything going, like how's your family, and really actually go into it and have decent conversations. So I actually paused for a while because I just wasn't enjoying, you know, being out. But I want to be able to, I guess, enjoy again and really connect with people. You know, connect with less people, but you know, more quality time.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, it's been such a challenge because with building the business, literally, I feel like I'm invited to a conference almost every day right now. And I've had to say no to so many things. I'm like, is this hurting myself as a business owner, or, you know, not getting the word out as much? But at the same time, it's like you have to be honest with yourself about who you are and your limitations. And so right now, what I'm doing is I'm just only going to the happy hours for the community, which I really enjoy. But even that, I'm such an introvert, so I actually book like a Korean spa appointment right after to go to recharge instead of going back to the kids, which is often it's so hard to go straight back to the kids after a tiring work day.
Yeah.
So it's just about being honest with yourself. Maybe it's something as we get older, just being honest about your limitations
Yeah,
and your
and
boundaries.
balance. Yeah, I love that. That's something I would totally do. Just like a focus spa treatment right after.
Yeah, no, dude, I tried that out in New York, and it was so much better. But also, so recently I did one in San Francisco, a happy hour, but then I had to go straight back to the kids, and I was so spent. Oh man, it's just so hard balancing it all.
Yeah, I hear you.
It really is.
Have you learned anything new from building the Authentic Asians?
From building the authentic
Because you've
Asian.
done tons of different startups before, and you've been very successful in your career. But is there something new that you've learned with this experience?
So I have this friend, his name is Brandon, and he specializes in helping women find their ikigai. So ikigai is like this trifecta. it's your passion, what invigorates you, and you can make a lot of money with it. So it's like, if you can find that, you will be golden in your career. And he predicted that I would start this community about 6 months before I started it. He said, you need to do something in your career. You're so empathetic and you're so good with people. You need to uplift as many people as possible. So I thought it would be through public speaking, which I'm also very good at.
Yeah.
But it's really the community. I mean, it's my ikigai. I am so great at just not only with people one-on-one. I love the one-on-one onboarding interviews that I do, but just feeling that joy and that love, uplifting others and seeing so many women, whether it's virtually or in person, uplift each other and feel less alone and more connected. I don't know. It's like 20 years, though, it took me to get here, because the food truck I was good at, but it wasn't the same as what I'm doing now.
Yeah. I have 2 questions for you, actually. One of the questions is that I'm just curious, because you've been an entrepreneur your whole life.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought a point of your life you're like, I wish I worked for a corporate?
Never.
Really? Because being an entrepreneur, it's such crazy roller coaster. It's up and down. There's no stability, in a sense.
Yeah.
Have you ever, you never
thought
you
did work in corporate for a bit, right?
At the beginning, and also, I worked for my own company and all that stuff. But I think one of my strengths is I'm good at building that corporate structure, in a sense. But there was definitely a point. But I never thought about working for corporate until I gave birth, because I was like, what maternity leave?
No, seriously.
What maternity leave? I was like,
I was closing a client a month after giving birth. It's freaking insane.
Sometimes, after, when you have a family, you kind of want a little bit more stability in life, than just the constant hustle mentality. And, when you're entrepreneur, is that, when you, let's say if you take some time off, the problems that you have in your business is still there by the time you get back. Where, if you work for corporate, sometimes you have a team and they can kind of resolve the problem, without you. But I'm just curious if you ever, thought about, hey, I want to work for a corporate instead of just doing it yourself all the time.
It runs in my blood so strongly. I can't even explain it. Entrepreneurship just has to happen. Right when I discovered it, me and my sister were selling rocks on the street at 8 years old. There's an Inc. magazine article about it.
Wow.
It's just so in our blood. And my mom's an entrepreneur, or she was. My dad's an entrepreneur. My sister's an entrepreneur, famous jewelry designer. We have, my grandpa was. It's just like, I can't even say, it's not even just nurture, it's nature in me. And so when I tried out doing some internships for corporate while at UCLA, it didn't feel right. And then every Sunday there was an entrepreneurship meetup at Loyola Marymount, and you had to get there at 8 a.m. every Sunday. And right when I got there, it felt so right. And so I don't know, it's even after going through hell, I can't even tell you, I've been through corporate bankruptcy, I've been $100K in debt after multiple of failed business, the food truck business. I had a falling out with my business partner. I've been through hell raising money in Silicon Valley, but I wouldn't give it up for the world, because it just feels so right intuitively to do it. And now after 20 years of doing it, I do feel like I found the right fit, and this is my life's purpose.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I feel like that's kind of a little bit the same thing with me. I started this when I was pregnant, but I started a startup, with my mom, with her family recipes. And to me, that's, my purpose calling. And it's just everything I've learned, all the mistakes I made before, I feel like it's finally like a reason to it. But I agree with you. But, it's hard, I think, when you're, right now, I'm turning 39 in like a couple months, and I'm like, oh, I finally, it's like things kind of start making sense, and I'm doing things with a purpose. And
well, I know that we always have fires to put out, but at least for me with this business, I mean, it's way less crazy than the food truck business. That was insane. And I do feel like I'm finally getting rewards in terms of flexibility. So, on Monday, I'm taking a half day off to take my son to Disneyland.
Oh, that's fun.
And it's like, I don't have to worry. I can have that, I won't call it balance, but that flexibility to do that.
I
have
agree.
the magic key pass with him. So
I 100% agree.
There are some rewards there, but when you have the fires to put out, man, is it hell?
Yeah, no, 100%. My second question I have for you is for the community you've built so far, what are some magic things that's happened?
Oh gosh. Um, it's just about a year since the community was started. And it's almost like the first year that you have a company, it's a newborn and then it's a baby and now it's walking after a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of let it grow up on its own,
Mm.
as I add around 20 to 30 women a month, listening to what they want, developing more around needs that they have. Um, and I wasn't planning on doing in-person events at all at first. And then within 6 months of its launching, people begged to meet in person, have in-person events. So we launched with brand ambassadors in Washington, D.C., New York, which is our biggest chapter of 40 women, San Francisco, L.A., and Orange County. And going to those in-person events was so inspiring. And having some of the leaders virtually we brought in, Deborah Liu of Ancestry.com, Debbie Sue of Open Table,
Mm-hmm.
one of the heads of Coca-Cola, the chief people officer of Coca-Cola International. I mean, so many great women. You're coming in December, which I'm so excited about. Um, just seeing all those women both virtually and in person, it just gives me so much hope for the next generation that they exist and that this can exist. And um, I love having that safe space. Recently, just last week, I went to the New York City happy hour, and just having that safe space to celebrate each other and support each other was just, it almost made me tear up when I was there that that it actually exists and that we've been
Mm.
able to build it together. I've had women, the one-on-one interactions are so huge. I've had women start crying at the onboarding interview thanking me that
Oh.
the community exists. With like small microaggressions that may have happened in their lives where they're the only Asian American woman in their workplace of 100 in Texas.
Mm.
And they feel so alone, and we're providing that connection for them. Um, we're also, I mean, I can't believe the opportunities that are coming up. I'm building the first Asian American female job board through the Authentic Asian with the number one recruiting firm in the DEI space. So there's going to be over 10,000 jobs that are looking to hire women of color, Asian American women. So I just can't believe these opportunities are coming up more and more. And I can't believe it's only been a year and so much has happened. So I'm very, very excited to see where it's going to head.
That's incredible. Yeah, I'm super excited to see. Like, imagine a year from now, imagine another year from now,
Oh my
what you're going to be able to
goodness.
build and this community just organically building itself as well.
Yeah, there was also this moment where Harvard brought me in for the Women of Color and Leadership program. So I originally started this out of that, but a whole year later, then the professor who's the longest tenured woman of color professor at Harvard Business School, she brought me in to be the keynote speaker for the class. And speaking to so many fabulous women of color about the Authentic Asian and the impact we're making, I mean, that was surreal as well. Like you said, I can't wait to see where it's going to head. Would love to learn more about your company, though, and how that first couple years have been and your lessons from that.
Ha John is really just, it's something that's so close to my heart because, growing up, there's always the one dish. I don't know for you, but there's always that, one dish that my mom cooks for me that just like it's so close to my heart. Every time when I'm traveling, when away for school or whatever it is, I always whenever time I go back to Chicago, she's always like, "What do you want to eat?" I always want to say this dish. And there was a
Mm,
period of our life that my mom and I weren't really that close
mm,
because my whole family are doctors and their education is very, very important to them. And for me, wanting to be an entrepreneur and just kind of rebelled against my mom's wish to go to medical school and dropping out and, moving to Los Angeles, there's a couple years of, we just really weren't that close. And sometime I'll go home to Chicago and we didn't have much to talk about, but she'll always make me the noodle dish. And I just always like, I don't know, it's something that just reminds me of home. And when I travel, also, I'm one of those weird people that used to pack ramen with me in my suitcase just because I needed that spice, I need that flavor. It never really hits home for me. And also, ramen is not the healthier thing, to eat. So I just always want to do something where I can, I guess, honor my mom's and my grandma's recipes, and also at the same time I want to make it healthy and accessible and easy for everybody, because I'm not a great cook. I don't think I'll ever be a good cook. So being able to, we launched with our chili oil first, because that's the base flavor with everything else. But we're about to launch our hero product, which is our rice noodle. And our rice noodle it took about, over 2 years to develop, because we use a patent process. We're going to be the first of its kind to the market. We are 12-month shelf stable. We're freshly cooked, and there's no preservative in it. So we did a comparison chart. We're gonna have the plain noodle by itself. So right now, if you buy rice noodles in the supermarket, it's all dry. You gotta soak it and then cook it. It's a whole long process. Whereas ours is pre-cooked. You just put some hot water and you're ready to eat.
Wow.
But our instant version, we did a comparison with all the major brands out right now. We're the only one with no preservatives, no additives, no added sugar. We're the lowest sodium compared to all of them. And we're keto. Oh, and sorry, we're gluten free. All that fun stuff. So I think that's going to be very important. Just that for me, it's something I will eat. So yeah, I'm just really excited about that. That's coming up.
Amazing. And where can people find it when it comes out?
Right now, I mean, we'll be obviously on our website, but Amazon's so easy nowadays.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, I spend so much money on Amazon.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a great place to buy it. Well, I can't wait till it comes out.
I'm sending you a case.
Yes. Yes. Oh, you have no idea how much ramen we eat in our house. Kelly, it was so great meeting with you today and genuinely connecting with you. I loved our conversation. It went by so quickly. I was just looking at my watch and I couldn't believe how quickly the time went by. If people want to follow you and learn more about what you're up to, what's the best way?
It's just Instagram's probably the easiest. It's just at Kelly Mealy.
Okay, amazing. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about The Authentic Asian, you can go ahead and follow us on Instagram, The Authentic Asian. You can also follow me on Instagram, Misa Chen, or LinkedIn as well. We have about 100 spots left before we're going to close out the membership. And so we're closing out the membership in the spring if we don't have all 100 spots filled before then. So hope to see you in the community soon, and thank you all so much for watching.